Hello everyone, my name is UltimoFive, and today we are going over Equinox Prime, Anima, and Animus. Equinox Prime is a Prime version of Equinox and was released alongside Stratovar Prime and Tapetto Prime. In order to obtain Equinox Prime, one must open a variety of relics that contain her blueprint, chassis, systems, and neuroptics in order to make her at the foundry. She requires a mastery rank of 5, comes with 2D and 2V polarity slots, and alongside this a dash aura slot, and because of this the builds on her will require 2 forma. Equinox Prime is the duality of contrasting forces within a single entity. Upon daybreak she unleashes Wrath as a more offensive form, but upon nightfall she draws in Life as a more supportive form. Due to this duality, she excels in being a great addition to any squad whether support is needed or an offensive ability user is needed. Equinox Prime has been buffed compared to the original Equinox. These buffs would be higher health, higher armor, higher energy, and she comes with 2 more polarity slots which are 1V and 1D. Advantages for Equinox Prime would be that she has a high health pool, a high energy pool, and a fast sprint speed. Disadvantages, however, would be that she has very low armor. Equinox's passive makes it so when she collects health or energy orbs, 10% of the restored amount is converted into additional health or energy respectively. Her passive can also stack well with Equilibrium, but other than this there isn't anything special to her passive. Equinox's first ability switches forms and gives bonus shields and armor in night form, or bonus damage and sprint speed in day form. With her augmentation duality, it causes her opposite form she is switching from to split and act as a specter armed with whatever weapon Equinox is wielding at the time. This ability is really good for granting a temporary boost in stats based on form, in which if you need a boost to defenses you can switch to night form, or a boost to offensive stats you can switch to day form. Duality as well is a great mod for running solo missions as Equinox, due to creating an invincible yet temporary specter which draws some of the fire off you, which is useful in Steel Path. Equinox's second ability in night form lulls enemies into sleep, which makes them susceptible to melee finishers and stealth damage multipliers. However, if the enemies were alerted prior to being put to sleep, the player will not be granted stealth kill affinity bonuses. With her augmentation Calm and Frenzy, killing an affected enemy causes the effect to spread to enemies within 5 meters for the 100% of the remaining duration. This ability is great for keeping things quiet for a while and helping with giant clusters of enemies when getting overwhelmed. Rest can overlap with Rage for a deadly sleeper combo as well. Equinox's third ability in night form emits a crippling aura that affects all enemies within range and reduces damage the closer they are to Equinox. With her augmentation Peaceful Provocation, Pacify converts damage done to Equinox and her allies into an aura that slows enemies up to 40%. This ability is a little lackluster though, but is good for reducing damage to the squad when things get a little too hairy. Equinox's fourth ability in night form emits a regenerative aura that grants shields for every enemy that has been killed within the aura. As well as this, the damage dealt to enemies' shields and health are accumulated and stored for when Equinox deactivates Mend. Upon deactivating Mend, all stored hit points are distributed evenly to the shields and health of Equinox and her allies within range. With her augmentation energy transfer, Equinox conserves up to 100% of the charge when switching forms rather than losing it all. This ability is great for survivability for the squad and Equinox herself. With energy transfer, it is very easy to switch to whatever form is needed at the moment, whether you need an AoE nuke as day form or a quick heal for the team. Equinox's second ability in day form spurs enemies into hyperactivity, which increases their vulnerability from all sources of damage and increases their movement and attack speed. With her augmentation Calm and Frenzy, killing an affected enemy causes the effect to spread to enemies within 5 meters for 100% of the remaining duration. This ability is great for increasing the pace of the mission and damage against enemies, as long as the player doesn't get overwhelmed. Casting Rage while Provoke is active increases the percentage of damage vulnerability and is good for acquiring more charge from MAME. Equinox's third ability in day form emits a buffing aura that grants Equinox and all ally Warframes within range additional ability strength. With her augmentation Peaceful Provocation, Provoke converts damage done to enemies within the aura bonus ability strength, on top of what Provoke originally provided. This ability is great when used before MAME, in which it increases the aura damage of the ability, or just in general to increase the squad's ability strength. Equinox's fourth ability in day form emits a lacerating aura that deals slash damage with 100% status chance to all enemies within the aura. As well as this, the damage dealt to enemy shields and health that are inside the aura or killed inside or outside the aura are accumulated and stored for when Equinox deactivates MAME. Upon deactivating MAME, all stored energy is released in a violent AoE burst that affects all enemies within range. With her augmentation energy transfer, Equinox conserves up to 100% of the charge when switching forms rather than losing it. This ability is amazing what I use a lot when being on the offense. It doesn't take too long to store up damage and can easily nuke enemies of all levels, so it makes it very deadly in survival or defense missions. The range-focused build for Equinox Prime utilizes a very large increase to range, a large increase to strength, and a small increase to efficiency. The build's flex slot is streamlined and works extremely well into late game. The large range possessed with this build helps her pacify and provoke, mend and maim, and rest and rage with its augmentation common frenzy the most, and due to this her day form is used more with this build than her duration build. Strength doesn't need to be increased all that much because it only affects the base damage of maim, the amount of shields restored with mend, the damage vulnerability of rage, the damage reduction of pacify, and her metamorphosis stats when switching forms. The duration focused build for Equinox Prime utilizes a very large increase to duration, a large increase to strength, and a small increase to range. The build's flex slot is duality and also works well into late game. The use of duality makes it more feasible to do solo missions in the steel path with Equinox, but of course the player doesn't have to use duality. The large increase to duration with this build helps her metamorphosis, rest and rage, and mend and maim with keeping down its energy drain. Strength doesn't need to be increased as much for not only the reasons mentioned before, but the Spectre's damage output through duality is a flat amount that is unaffected by mods. The Mrs. Sandman build for Equinox Prime utilizes an extremely large increase to range, a very large increase to duration, and a very large decrease to strength. The build's flex slot is vitality and works well with putting enemies asleep for quite some time. The point of this build is to farm affinity with stealth finishers and farm for focus with a decent radius of 14 meters to effect enemies. Common Frenzy makes it so enemies you kill will spread the effect to even more enemies and essentially just keep everyone asleep. First off, the aura slot can be whatever you want it to be, as long as it benefits you and what you're doing currently, then realistically anything can work there. For instance, Energy Siphon is a fantastic aura mod to generate energy, but if you have access to energy through other means, then Corrosive Projection could be a better choice. You could even use an aura form on her so any mod could go there and not just Naramon dash mods. Intensify, in place of Umbra Intensify if you don't have it. Continuity and Flow, in place of their primed counterparts if you don't have them. Natural Talent, in place of the build's flex slot in order to improve casting speed, which can be very beneficial for her considering her third and fourth abilities have fairly long cast delays that can doom the player based on their situation. Common Frenzy, in place of the build's flex slot in order to give the ability of spreading her rest and rage amongst enemies running towards already affected enemies. Energy Transfer, in place of Streamline in the range focus build. Duration doesn't matter for her fourth ability augment, so using it with the duration build isn't the best, but if you choose to do so, you can. Peaceful Provocation, in place of the build's flex slot in order to give an aura that slows enemies in night form, or to build even more ability strength in day form. Equinox Prime is an extremely versatile frame that is a great fit to any squad. In night form she possesses defensive abilities that put enemies to sleep, prevents damage, and heals shield and health. Meanwhile in day form she possesses offensive stats that increases enemy vulnerability to damage, increases ability strength, and deals immense slash damage in an AoE burst. So, considering this, she is very helpful in practically all situations as either a support or as an ability caster that does massive damage. Arcane Energize. Upon energy pickup, 60% chance to replenish energy to nearby allies. Arcane Grace. Upon health being damaged, 9% chance for 6% health regen for 9 seconds. Arcane Eruption. Upon energy pickup, 100% chance to knock down nearby enemies. Arcane Victory. Upon headshot kills, 75% chance for 3% health regen for 9 seconds. Arcane Guardian. Upon being damaged, 15% chance for 900 armor for 20 seconds. And Arcane Nullifier, which provides a 102% chance to resist a magnetic status effect entirely. Thanks for watching. If you want to see more guides on Warframe, please click the like and sub buttons to let me know. And as per usual, I will see you guys in the next video. Goodbye.